Chapter 22-29. The Gu family's Enlightenment ancient tree was already 1,000 meters tall. Its effect was much better than his own Enlightenment ancient tree. It was the most suitable place to comprehend the laws. You guys can cultivate here. If you need anything, just send me a message. Gu Xinghui left behind a message and a voice transmission jade talisman. His figure moved and disappeared. Lu Ming and the other two headed towards the Enlightenment ancient tree. As they approached, they found a few people sitting cross-legged under the Enlightenment ancient tree, cultivating. Obviously, they were the Gu family's people. Lu Ming also finally understood why Gu Yingzhong could control 4 types of laws at such a young age. He had even reached the second level of 2 of them. It was definitely related to the Enlightenment ancient tree. When the 3 of them arrived, someone from the Gu family sensed them and opened his eyes to look at Lu Ming and the other 2. He was surprised. This was because he did not know Lu Ming and the other 2 at all. However, he was only surprised and did not say anything. This was because this was the Gu family's secret place. Without the Gu family's higher-ups leading the way, no one would be able to find it. Obviously, Lu Ming, Dandan and Mulins were able to enter because the higher-ups of the Gu family had brought them here. Since it was the higher-ups of the Gu family who brought them here, he naturally would not say anything. He nodded to Lu Ming and the other 2 and closed his eyes to continue cultivating. The 2 of you can cultivate here. I'm going to find a place to go into seclusion and break through to the true Emperor realm. Dandan said, I hope you break through soon. Otherwise, when I become an emperor, I'll catch up to you very quickly. Lu Ming laughed. Dream on, you want to catch up to me? Dandan curled his lips unhappily, then his figure flashed and disappeared into the distance in an instant. Lu Ming and Mulins came under the Enlightenment ancient tree. They each found a piece of green stone and sat cross-legged on it. The Enlightenment ancient tree was 1,000 meters tall and was incomparably huge. Between the branches and leaves, there were grand daos. Whether it was comprehending laws or divine abilities, it was very useful here. To comprehend 9 types of laws, 3 supreme laws and 6 monarch Dao laws, I'm still lacking 1 supreme law and 1 monarch Dao law. Which 2 should I comprehend? Lu Ming pondered. If it's monarch Dao law, why don't I comprehend the penetration law? Lu Ming's heart moved. The law of penetration and the power of penetration were extremely shocking. If one could comprehend it, one's attack power would increase by a lot. Furthermore, the 6 feathered divine wings that Dandan imparted to Lu Ming contained 6 types of laws. Apart from the law of array, alchemy, and weapons, the law of penetration was also one of them. After comprehending the law of penetration, the power of the 6 feathered divine wings would increase explosively. After deciding on the monarch Dao law, it was time to decide which supreme law to comprehend. Of the remaining 8 supreme laws, Lu Ming was most optimistic about the destiny law. Because the destiny law was indeed mysterious and powerful. However, the destiny law had a high requirement of talent. It was also the most difficult to cultivate. Lu Ming thought for a while, then shook his head and eliminated the destiny law. Now that I have the chaos law and death law, I'm not weak in terms of offense. The next law doesn't necessarily have to increase my offense. Increasing my defense or vitality is also very important. Then the life law. In the end, Lu Ming decided to comprehend the life law. Xiang had the life body, so Lu Ming was more familiar with the life law. Moreover, once one grasped the life law, their vitality would become astonishing. Even if they suffered some fatal injuries, they would be able to recover quickly. This would greatly increase their ability to survive. For the next 2 laws, Lu Ming decided to comprehend the life law and the penetration law. Closing his eyes, Lu Ming's mind became empty. His mind merged with heaven and earth as he captured the fluctuations of the laws. Penetration, penetrate everything, nothing can stop it, Lu Ming murmured and understood something. As Lu Ming comprehended more and more laws, he had more experience in comprehending laws. Hence, he became more and more efficient in comprehending laws. In just a few days, the penetration law had reached the entry level. Half a month later, Lu Ming successfully comprehended the life law and reached the entry level. In this way, he had already grasped 9 types of laws. What he needed to do now was to increase the maturity of the laws. The alchemy law, tools law, penetration law, and life law. Now, Lu Ming still had 4 types of laws that had not reached the first level of perfection. However, the alchemy law and tools law were already about 90% mature. Lu Ming wholeheartedly comprehended the 4 types of laws. In the blink of an eye, half a year had passed. On this day, thunder rumbled in the distance. Lu Ming, who was cultivating, and the people of the Gu family all opened their eyes. Someone has become an emperor and is going through the emperor tribulation. Someone from the Gu family whispered. Senior sister Mulins is going to become an emperor. Lu Ming smiled. Mulins had obtained the inheritance of a peerless expert. The process of inheritance lasted for 5 years. In these 5 years, Mulins's cultivation soared to the limit of the boundary emperor before stopping. Mulins was originally just a hair away from becoming an emperor. Now, after more than half a year of accumulation and polishing, Mulins finally crossed the bottleneck and became an emperor. Lu Ming took a step forward and came to a place not far from Mulins. Mulins's body was covered in a layer of blood light, which turned into attacks to resist the heavenly tribulation. It seemed that Mulins was still quite relaxed. Not long after, Mulins successfully passed the heavenly tribulation. Boom! At this moment, a shocking change occurred in Mulins's body. It was the evolution of the sacred heart. The sacred energy turned into the power of the world. A faint emperor's aura was emitted from Mulins's body. Half an hour later, Mulins's aura stabilized and she officially entered the martial emperor realm. Senior sister, congratulations on confirming your Tao and becoming an emperor. Lu Ming stepped forward and congratulated Lu Ming. Mulins looked at Lu Ming with joy on her face. She said, I believe that junior brother will become an emperor soon. Little girl, not bad. You became an emperor so quickly. It seems that you are really suitable for Xue Xiu's cultivation path. A voice was heard. Then, with a flash of light, Dandan's figure appeared. Dandan, you also broke through? Lu Ming looked at Dandan and asked curiously. Of course. What kind of existence am I? A mere true emperor is nothing. I will soon break through to the great emperor realm, then the heavenly emperor realm. Finally, I will surpass the past and break through to the supreme realm. Ha! Dandan laughed proudly, as if he was thinking of a beautiful future. His eyes were shining. This guy, Lu Ming despised him, but he was also happy for him. Dandan laughed for a while and said, Lu Ming, come. Let's spar and see how you have comprehended the laws during this period. You are now a true emperor. If I spar with you, won't I be abused? Lu Ming curled his lips and immediately refused. Chapter 2230. Haha, I know you're afraid of me. However, I won't use the power of the world. I'll just spar with you using the laws. Why are you still afraid? Dandan grinned and looked at Lu Ming from the corner of his eyes. Lu Ming was unhappy and said, Come on, let's go. Let's spar a little further away. After they flew a distance away, they began to fight. Dandan did not use his cultivation to suppress Lu Ming. He only used a little bit of the power of the world to activate the laws and fought with Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming was defeated by Dandan in one move. This made Lu Ming speechless. Was the difference so big? Although Dandan also controlled 9 types of laws, he also controlled 9 types of laws. However, after colliding with Dandan's laws, his laws were completely vulnerable. Lu Ming, although you control a lot of laws, it's only the most superficial fusion. You don't have an ancient scripture to fully unleash the power of these laws. Therefore, the power is too weak. Dandan said, It's a pity that I don't have an ancient scripture. Lu Ming also had a bitter face. Although he created the Hammer of Chaos and the Sword of Death, he had only created them recently and was far from reaching the major completion. Their power was limited. Those ancient scriptures were not created by others. Those who created the ancient scriptures also created those ancient scriptures according to the laws they controlled. Right now, you're just inexperienced. You can't fully unleash the magical powers you created. If you can fully unleash the laws you control, The power will definitely be stronger than many ancient scriptures. After all, you created them yourself. Dandan explained. Dandan, since you're so experienced, why don't you teach me? Lu Ming smiled and looked at Dandan. Ha, now you know how powerful I am. Don't worry, I want to spar with you because I want to guide you. Come again, use your full strength. Dandan laughed loudly. He was very pleased with himself. With one hand behind his back, he had the demeanor of a peerless expert. This time, Lu Ming didn't make things difficult for Dandan. After all, he had a favor to ask. Then, Lu Ming's figure flashed, and the hammer of primal chaos appeared in his hand, and he smashed it toward Dandan. Dandan pointed out, and at least 5 types of laws exploded out, forming a finger energy that slammed into the primal chaos hammer. The primal chaos hammer violently trembled before exploding. Lu Ming's hammer of primal chaos also contained 5 types of nomological laws, but they were like tofu. On the other hand, Dandan's 5 types of nomological laws were like steel, as they immediately defeated Lu Ming's hammer of primal chaos. Again, Lu Ming then charged towards Dandan, resisting with his laws. But every time, Lu Ming was completely defeated. A day later, Lu Ming was already exhausted. He then stopped. But in this battle, Lu Ming had gained a lot. He was more proficient in the use of the nomological laws. When he used the hammer of primal chaos or the sword of death, the various nomological laws complemented each other, and the explosive power also increased. Dandan, although bragging every day and sometimes unreliable, was really experienced. Moreover, the world divine turtle was known as the world. Its innate control of the nomological laws was unparalleled, and it was stronger than the other top 10 battle beasts. Therefore, it could often point out Lu Ming's shortcomings in the use of the nomological laws, allowing Lu Ming to improve rapidly. Go back and digest it well. We'll continue the competition in 7 days. Dandan grinned and went to enlightenment. The few of them returned to the enlightenment ancient tree and continued to cultivate. Mulins had been watching Lu Ming and Dandan fight before. She had gained a lot and needed to digest it. In the following days, Lu Ming had one more thing to do, and that was to fight with Dandan. Every 7 days, he would fight with Dandan. His comprehension of the various nomological laws and the use of the nomological laws were improving by leaps and bounds. The mastery of the 4 nomological laws of alchemy, tools, penetration, and life increased very quickly. After all, this was under the Enlightenment ancient tree. Coupled with Lu Ming's own talent, it was difficult not to improve. At the same time, Lu Ming's 2 self-created supernatural powers, the hammer of primal chaos and the sword of death, were getting stronger and stronger. Not only was the original use of the nomological laws, but also the penetration nomological laws. One supernatural power contained 7 nomological laws, and its power was constantly increasing. Finally, after Lu Ming cultivated here for a year, he had another nomological law that reached perfection. Alchemy nomological laws. The alchemy nomological laws reached perfection, and the nomological laws formed a river. Lu Ming's physical body and saint power were tempered again and greatly improved. Without a doubt, Lu Ming's combat strength was also increasing rapidly. After cultivating here for a year and a half, Lu Ming's tools' nomological laws had also reached perfection. Until now, Lu Ming still had the penetration nomological laws and life nomological laws that had not reached perfection in the first realm. The life nomological law was an ultimate nomological law, and relatively speaking, the speed of improvement was much slower. Far away from the Enlightenment ancient tree, on a flat ground, Lu Ming and Dandan continued to fight. Although Lu Ming's strength was increasing rapidly, Dandan's improvement was even faster. Lu Ming felt that the 9 nomological laws that Dandan controlled had probably reached the second realm. Lu Ming was naturally no match for him. The 2 of them exchanged a blow, and Lu Ming retreated. Unfortunately, my ultimate nomological laws can't be merged together. Lu Ming sighed. Whether it was the hammer of chaos or the sword of death, they both only contained one ultimate nomological law. If other ultimate nomological laws could be merged, the power would probably skyrocket. However, if ultimate nomological laws could not be merged, it would be too difficult to merge them. Not necessarily. Dandan said, it said that it's impossible for one person to control two ultimate nomological laws, but didn't you do it? Since you can control multiple ultimate nomological laws, you can naturally merge them into one supernatural power. Speaking of which, Lu Ming, your path is completely different from others. You cultivated the ancient scriptures created by others, but it can't fully stimulate your potential. Other people's ancient scriptures have a single ultimate nomological law as the core, but you control multiple ultimate nomological laws. If you want to fully stimulate your potential, you need to create your own. Dandan was rarely serious as he seriously guided Lu Ming. Lu Ming was greatly moved. Indeed, those peerless heroes who created various ancient scriptures did not control multiple ultimate nomological laws. At most, they controlled one ultimate nomological law and then combined it with other monarch nomological laws and ordinary nomological laws to create it. None of them were suitable for Lu Ming. If Lu Ming wanted to tap into his full potential, he had to create his own ancient scriptures and supernatural powers. Lu Ming felt suddenly enlightened. He felt that he could see his future path. Dandan, thank you. Lu Ming thanked Dandan very seriously. Who am I? The leader of the top 10 battle beasts, an invincible peerless genius. Do you believe me now? Dandan grinned and laughed, feeling very comfortable and happy. Come, continue. Let me guide you so that you can merge ultimate nomological laws as soon as possible. Dandan shouted, full of enthusiasm. Although Dandan did not control multiple ultimate nomological laws, his experience was there, and it was very helpful to Lu Ming. However, it was too difficult to merge different ultimate nomological laws into one supernatural power. Chapter 2231. Winter passed and spring came. Time flew by. Lu Ming had been cultivating here for 3 years. After 3 years of hard work, his law of penetration had reached the first level of perfection. Lu Ming's physical body and saint power had become stronger after repeated refinements. His physical strength was incomparably strong, and his saint power was condensed to the extreme. Moreover, his application of the law had become stronger, and the power of his self-created divine powers had increased by a lot. Compared to 3 years ago, Lu Ming's combat strength had increased by leaps and bounds. However, his law of life was still a little short and had not reached perfection. It was still at the 99% stage. Lu Ming was not in a hurry. It was indeed a little slow to improve his ultimate law, and this was still cultivating under the ancient tree of enlightenment. If it were in the outside world, it would be impossible to cultivate so many laws to the first level of perfection in 3 years. On the same flat ground, Lu Ming and Dandan were still fighting. Swoosh, swoosh. Lu Ming held the sword of death in his hand and slashed out continuously. Its power was extremely shocking. However, Dandan was relaxed. With a casual wave of his hand, various laws circulated and easily blocked Lu Ming's attack. Just a little bit more, just a little bit more. Lu Ming's eyes were firm and persistent. He was trying to integrate the law of chaos into the sword of death. Just a little bit more, merge for me. Suddenly, Lu Ming roared. The law of death in his body surged. The sword of death in his hand vibrated constantly, and the sword's roar shook the sky. Buzz. Suddenly, the power of the sword of death skyrocketed, and a terrifying sword light slashed at Dandan. This sword not only contained the power of the law of death, but also the heavy power of the law of chaos. Success! Lu Ming was ecstatic. However, in the next moment, Lu Ming's body trembled. He felt a terrifying tearing force from the 2 ultimate laws. His palm was about to be torn apart by this tearing force. Nestle! On the opposite side, Dandan shouted. With a shake of his palm, a tortoise shell appeared and blocked in front of him like a shield. Boom! With a violent explosion, Dandan's tortoise shell shield exploded. Dandan quickly retreated, avoiding the tip of the sword of death. Kid, you've succeeded? Dandan looked at Lu Ming. The sword of death in Lu Ming's hand disappeared. His palms and arms were covered in cracks, blood seeping out from them. Circulating the law of life, The wound on his arm quickly healed. Unfortunately, the two types of laws will still clash and erupt with astonishing power, causing me to be injured. Lu Ming smiled bitterly. That's normal. You've just started the fusion and aren't familiar with it yet. However, this proves that we're on the right track. As long as you keep trying, the side effects will disappear. Haha, we've created history. If this were to spread, I'm afraid it would scare people to death. Dandan was extremely excited. Lu Ming also revealed a smile. He understood that after such a long period of hard work, he had finally succeeded. Although the fusion of two types of supreme laws would cause him to be injured, it was still incomplete. As it continued to be perfected in the future, these side effects would definitely disappear. Under the effect of the law of life, the wound on Lu Ming's arm had completely healed. Dandan. Lu Ming rushed towards Dandan. Where could he find such a good sparring partner? Boom! The sword of death reappeared in Lu Ming's hand. Immediately, the law of primal chaos erupted and merged with the sword of death. Buzz. This time, he immediately succeeded. However, the fusion still clashed and a terrifying power erupted, causing Lu Ming's arm to be covered in wounds. However, the power of this sword strike had reached an astonishing level. Dandan needed to focus her attention in order to block it. This could be considered Lu Ming's strongest killing move. If I integrate the law of life in the future, the power will definitely be stronger. Lu Ming thought to himself. Lu Ming was about to continue looking for Dandan when a figure flashed and a white-haired old man appeared. It was Gu Xinghui. This was the first time Gu Xinghui had appeared in 3 years. Little brother Lu Ming, it seems that you have made great progress in these years. Gu Xinghui smiled. Senior, thank you for bringing me here to cultivate. Otherwise, I'm afraid I would have to cultivate for a few more years to achieve my current achievements. Lu Ming said. Kid, why are you here today? Dandan walked over and said casually. Of course, there's something big. Gu Xinghui said. Something big? What's the big deal? Dandan asked curiously. Mount Eternal has appeared. It is said that the indestructible ancient scripture is hidden in Mount Eternal. Gu Xinghui said. What? Dandan almost jumped up. His eyes lit up as he stared at Gu Xinghui and said, Is that true? It's true. Mount Eternal has appeared in the void and is now hovering above Alcade Ancient City. Now, countless experts from the Taiching Celestial Domain are rushing over to get the indestructible ancient scripture. So, I'm here to ask if you want to go. Gu Xinghui said. Of course, we're going. We can't miss the indestructible ancient scripture of the indestructible emperor. Dandan's eyes lit up. By the side, Lu Ming and Mulan were somewhat dumbstruck. They had never heard of Mount Eternal or the indestructible ancient scripture. Is the indestructible ancient scripture that magical? Lu Ming asked. Of course. It is said that those who cultivate the indestructible ancient scripture will be immortal and have extremely strong vitality. Even a trace of blood, a strand of hair, or a trace of soul can be recovered. Although the law of life has strong vitality, it is far inferior to cultivating the indestructible ancient scripture. The indestructible ancient scripture is the trump card of the indestructible emperor. Do you know about the emperor? He is an existence on par with the Chaos Emperor. Dandan rattled on, explaining a bunch of things. Lu Ming was shocked. He was shocked by the incredible power of the indestructible ancient scripture and the strength of the indestructible emperor. According to Dandan, those who could be called venerable sovereigns were all invincible figures. They were known as venerable sovereigns and were invincible in the world. For example, the Chaos Emperor and the Indestructible Emperor. If the Indestructible Emperor is so strong, how can he be so strong? Then how can others get the indestructible ancient scripture? Won't we be courting death if we go? Lu Ming asked curiously. The Indestructible Emperor died a long time ago. Dandan said. How can such a person who cultivated the indestructible ancient scripture die? Lu Ming was shocked and puzzled. Sigh, it's all because of the evil god tribe. In the ancient era, at the beginning of the war, the indestructible emperor was besieged by several people of the evil god tribe. In the end, nothing was left of him. Even if he had the indestructible ancient scripture, he still died. Since the fall of the indestructible emperor, Mount Eternal, where he lived, escaped into the endless void and wandered in the eternal darkness of the void. No one could find it. I really didn't expect Mount Eternal to suddenly appear. Many people guessed that the indestructible ancient scripture is about to reappear. Gu Xinghui sighed. Lu Ming was also interested. Okay, let's go and take a look. Chapter 2232. Before becoming an emperor, it was a good opportunity to go out for a walk and adjust his condition to prepare for becoming an emperor. At the same time, he could also try his luck. If he could really get the indestructible ancient scripture, it would be a great stroke of luck. Immediately, Lu Ming, Mulins, and Dandan followed Gu Xinghui and left for the Gu clan's palace. This time, the Gu clan would also send people to try their luck. Mount Eternal had been wandering in the eternal darkness for so many years. It was very difficult to get it by relying on one's cultivation alone. It would require a fortuitous encounter. Therefore, the Gu clan sent some geniuses. The number one genius of the Gu clan, Gu Yingzhong, was naturally among them. However, there were also many experts. There were true emperors and great emperors who were led by the Gu clan's patriarch. Everyone soared into the sky and headed towards the nearest teleportation area. The Alcade ancient city was located in the western part of the Grand Pure Sky domain. A few days later, the Gu clan had already arrived at the Alcade ancient city. The Alcade ancient city was one of the oldest ancient cities in the Heaven domain. In the Heaven domain, there were not many that could be called ancient cities. Each of them had spanned countless years and were full of mottled traces of time. During this period of time, this ancient city that had experienced countless years had become incomparably lively. There was a sea of people, all of them experts. There were experts from all over the Grand Pure Sky domain. Not only the human race, but also the various divine beast races. For example, true dragons, heavenly tigers, phoenixes, and others could be seen from time to time. In the sky above the northern gate of the Alcade ancient city, an incomparably huge divine mountain was suspended there. It was huge and majestic, like the legendary immemorial divine mountain. This was Mount Eternal. Lu Ming and the others did not enter the Alcade ancient city at first. Instead, they headed towards Mount Eternal. Boom, boom. From afar, they could see a dazzling light constantly flickering and hear a shocking roar. Someone wanted to climb Mount Eternal, and it was a very shocking expert. Lu Ming saw a figure covered in divine light rushing towards Mount Eternal at an astonishing speed. However, no matter how fast he rushed towards Mount Eternal, it seemed that he could not cross the seemingly short distance. It was difficult for him to get close to Mount Eternal. There was a layer of light on Mount Eternal. It seemed to stop there, but it was impossible to get close. Is that a heavenly emperor? Someone from the Gu family asked in a hoarse voice. That's right, it's indeed a heavenly emperor realm figure. The patriarch of the Gu family said. Everyone sucked in a cold breath. Even a heavenly emperor realm figure was unable to ascend Mount Eternal? Chirp. At this moment, a cry echoed in the sky. Everyone saw a phoenix spreading its wings and soaring towards Mount Eternal. The aura emitted by the phoenix was shocking. Its body was enormous, and when it spread its wings, they covered the sky and covered the sun. This was absolutely an incomparably terrifying phoenix. Its cultivation was not weaker than that human race powerhouse from before. Without a doubt, it was a heavenly emperor realm existence. With a flap of its wings, the void collapsed, forming a terrifying dark space. It flew towards Mount Eternal at an unimaginable speed. However, it was still difficult for this terrifying phoenix to ascend Mount Eternal. A roar reverberated in all directions. An incomparably huge white tiger, filled with boundless killing intent, rushed towards Mount Eternal. However, like the phoenix, it was still unable to ascend the mountain. The white tiger roared and stretched out a huge claw. It was incomparably terrifying. It was even bigger than a mountain and grabbed towards Mount Eternal from the sky. Obviously, The white tiger was furious that it could not ascend the mountain. It wanted to blow up Mount Eternal. Its huge claw was even bigger than Mount Eternal. Unfortunately, when it grabbed down, Mount Eternal was like an illusion. It grabbed empty air and nothing was caught. Next, everyone saw a few powerful existences trying to ascend Mount Eternal, but in the end, it was to no avail. There were many people watching nearby. Lu Ming and the others learned from the nearby spectators that during this period, there were no less than 10 heavenly emperors who came here. They used all kinds of methods to try to ascend Mount Eternal and obtain the indestructible ancient scripture, but all of them failed. There were also great emperors, true emperors, and void emperors who tried to ascend the mountain, but all of them ended in failure. Some people speculated that the indestructible ancient scripture had not yet appeared. It was obviously impossible to seize it with strength. One had to know that the indestructible emperor was an invincible figure back then. Many people stayed in Alcade Ancient City, waiting for the right opportunity. Lu Ming and the others looked around Mount Eternal for a while, but it was to no avail. Even Dandan shook his head. They could only come to Alcade Ancient City and find a place to stay. Alcade Ancient City? I heard that it is one of the oldest cities in the heavenly realm. In history, many experts were born and left behind many ruins. How about we go take a look? Gu Ying invited Lu Ming, Dandan, and Mulins. The Gu family had lived in seclusion for generations and rarely came out. Gu Ying did not have many opportunities to come out. This time, if it was not for the indestructible ancient scripture, the Gu family would not have brought them out. It was rare for him to come out, so naturally he was very curious. All right. Lu Ming and the others nodded. Together with Gu Ying, they left the place where they lived and strolled around Alcade Ancient City. Alcade Ancient City was not only old, but it also covered a very large area. There were countless streets and ancient ruins everywhere. For example, there were many stone tablets, which were enlightenment tablets. These enlightenment tablets had great Tao engravings left behind by experts. It was very helpful for those below the Martial Emperor realm. Many people below the Martial Emperor realm sat cross-legged under the enlightenment tablets, quietly comprehending and cultivating. There were many statues in another place. They were all famous statues of the past generations. Each of them exuded a domineering will that made people admire them. Many people were looking at them. Lu Ming and the others also came here. Look, those are the statues of the top 10 battle beasts. Gu Ying whispered. Lu Ming looked over and saw statues of different species. There was a 9 dragon with a winding body. There were 9 dragon claws under its abdomen. The scales on its body were clear and lifelike, as if the 9 dragons had come back to life. There was a giant elephant that was like a small mountain. Its muscles were obvious as if it had explosive power. This was the immemorial dragonesque elephant. Next, they saw the statues of the Titan longhorn beetle, the immortal heavenly phoenix, the 9 lives demonic silkworm. These were the statues of the top 10 battle beasts. There were a total of 9 statues, but there was no statue of the world turtle. Dandan, you don't seem to be there. It seems that your reputation is not good enough. Or maybe they think that you are not worthy of being compared to the other 9. Lu Ming looked at Dandan and joked. Bullshit. The people who carved these statues must be ignorant or have a grudge against me. Damn it, they didn't put my statue in. Dandan was extremely unhappy and gritted her teeth. In the end, her eyes lit up and she said, I know, they definitely can't carve out my majestic charm, so they don't have a statue of me. That must be it, huh? Lu Ming and the others looked at it with disdain. After a while, the crowd left. Lu Ming, it's you? How did you come to the heavenly realm? At this moment, a voice was heard. It sounded very surprised. Luo Zhangqiong? Stellar River. Chapter 2233. Not far away, a few youths walked over. 2 of them were Lu Ming's old acquaintances, Luo Zhangqiong and Xing Xinhe from the primordial realm. Beside them was another youth that Lu Ming did not recognize. Luo Zhangqiong and Xing Xinhe seemed very surprised. Back then, Heavenly Emperor Kong Yin did not bring Lu Ming to the heaven domain. Why would Lu Ming appear in the heaven domain now? After the surprise, it was cold, murderous intent. Luo Zhangqiong and Xing Xinhe were the same. They did not hide their murderous intent as their figures flickered and surrounded Lu Ming and the others. Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to come to the heaven domain too. Can't you just stay in the primordial realm and retire? Why must you come to the heaven domain to die? Well, it saves me a trip. Luo Zhangqiong said coldly as a powerful aura emanated from his body. Two-star illusionary emperor seemed to have reached the peak of two-star illusionary emperor and could step into three-star illusionary emperor at any time. At the same time, two types of laws emanated from his body. They were both monarch Dao laws and both were at the peak of the first realm. Obviously, after coming to the heaven domain, Luo Zhangqiong had made great progress. Back in the Battle of 10 Earths, Luo Zhangqiong had just broken through to one-star illusionary emperor. Now, he had reached the peak of two-star illusionary emperor and comprehended the second type of law, reaching the peak of the first realm. To be able to make such progress in 5 years was already very fast. He had definitely received a lot of resources to cultivate. The distance of each step in the martial emperor realm was very large and difficult to cross. Without resources, it would take a long time to cultivate honestly. Lu Ming glanced at Luo Zhangqiong indifferently and said, I haven't seen you for 5 years. You've made some progress, but do you think you're my match? His voice was full of disdain. Luo Zhangqiong's face turned ugly. Indeed, he did not have much confidence in dealing with Lu Ming alone. During the Battle of 10 Earths, Lu Ming was able to fight with the heaven domain prodigies who had mastered the strongest laws. He was much stronger than Luo Zhangqiong now. Although he knew that Lu Ming was a peerless cripple and could not become an emperor, his combat ability should not be any different from 5 years ago and there should not be any improvement. However, he was no match for Lu Ming now. However, he was not afraid because there were others beside him. Lu Ming, this is not the primordial realm, nor is it the same as 5 years ago. Luo Zhangqiong said coldly. Oh, you mean the two of them? Lu Ming smiled indifferently as he glanced at the Star River and the strange young man. I alone am enough. Xing Xinhe spoke with great confidence. Xing Xinhe's cultivation had already reached 3-star illusionary emperor. His improvement was shocking, as he had jumped 2 tiers. At the same time, his law had also made shocking progress. His battle strength was much stronger than 5 years ago during the Battle of the 10 Lands. Xinghe was no longer weaker than the Heaven Realm geniuses who had descended upon the Yuan Realm. His talent was very strong, and he was not weaker than the geniuses of the Heaven Realm. Now that he had the resources of the Heaven Realm to nurture him, his progress was extremely fast. He was confident that he could defeat Lu Ming alone. He is that peerless cripple from the primordial realm? The strange young man spoke. This person's cultivation was not weak either. He was a 3-star illusionary emperor and had mastered 3 types of law. Although he did not master the strongest law, 2 of his monarch laws had already reached the 2nd realm. His strength was also very shocking. That's right, it's him. Luo Zhangqiong said in a cold voice. Many people have praised him to the heavens and bragged about how powerful he is. Today, I want to give it a try. The strange young man sneered. Those who bragged about him are just his friends. Luo Zhangqiong sneered and said, Lu Ming, today, you must die. Back then, in the world of the lotus, Luo Zhangqiong was abused by Lu Ming too miserably. Luo Pokong was killed by Lu Ming in public, and he was trampled on by Lu Ming in public. He was even treated as a human weapon and fought against Xing Xinhe. He was utterly humiliated. He had always wanted to take revenge. However, in the Battle of the 10 Lands, the strength that Lu Ming displayed shocked him, but what happened later made him ecstatic. Lu Ming actually had a peerless crippled body and could not go to the heavenly domain to cultivate. He was overjoyed and decided to return to the primordial realm after cultivating in the heavenly domain and kill Lu Ming personally. He did not expect to meet Lu Ming in the heavenly domain, but his intention to kill Lu Ming would not change. Lu Ming, give me the heavenly emperor's body, and I can give you a quick death. Xing Xinhe said coldly. Of course, he was transmitting his voice to Lu Ming. He did not want others to know about the heavenly emperor's body. In his opinion, the heavenly emperor's body should belong to him, and anyone else who touched it had to die. He also had to kill Lu Ming. Xing Xinhe and the other two completely ignored Dandan, Gu Ying and Mulins. How strong could they be when they were with a crippled body like Lu Ming? They did not care about them. Lu Ming, who are these three idiots? They fart as soon as they come. Dandan said unhappily. These words made Luo Zhangqiong and Xing Xinhe's faces turn black. Originally, it had nothing to do with you, but now, you have to be responsible for your own words. Luo Zhangqiong said coldly. Nest, this kid has no ability at all, but he's very arrogant. I'll slap him to death. Dandan was even more unhappy. He rolled up his sleeves and was about to attack. Leave them to me, I'll deal with them. Lu Ming waved his hand and stopped Dandan. You'll deal with them? Let's see how you'll deal with them. The unfamiliar young man said coldly. He took a step forward and charged towards Lu Ming. His palm was like a blade, slashing down with force like a heavenly blade. He fully unleashed his 3-star illusionary emperor realm power and 3 types of monarch laws. 2 of them had already reached the 2nd realm and were extremely powerful. This attack shattered the void. A terrifying blade light slashed towards Lu Ming, wanting to split Lu Ming in half. Countless people around were alarmed and looked over. In the face of this attack, Lu Ming's expression did not change at all. He was very calm. Boom! Just as the blade light was about to hit Lu Ming made a move and pointed out with his finger. A finger force hit the blade light, and the blade light shattered immediately. The finger force did not stop and pointed at the unfamiliar young man at an astonishing speed. The unfamiliar young man's pupils shrank sharply, revealing a look of horror in his eyes as he frantically retreated. However, Lu Ming's finger force was faster. In an instant, it caught up with the unfamiliar young man. The unfamiliar young man yelled in horror. At this moment, his heart was full of fear and regret. He never dreamed that Lu Ming, who had a crippled body, would be so powerful. He was even more powerful than the legends said. His attack did not have any effect at all. He felt that death was approaching. He yelled and tried to escape, but it was all too late. The finger force pierced through his glabella and destroyed his soul. The unfamiliar young man's eyes were wide open and filled with unwillingness. Then, his body fell heavily to the ground. Chapter 2234. They were well aware of the young man's battle strength. He was a very good genius in the heaven realm and his battle strength was far above Luo Zhangqiong's. Even compared to Heng Xinghe, he was not much weaker. But now, he was killed by Lu Ming in one move. Wasn't Lu Ming's battle strength stronger than Heng Xinghe's? Wasn't Lu Ming a crippled body? How could his battle strength improve so quickly if he couldn't become an emperor? They couldn't figure it out. What they wanted to do now was to run. Heng Xinghe and Luo Zhangqiong retreated almost at the same time. You want to run when you know you can't beat me? Have you asked for my permission? Ha! Lu Ming sneered. He took a step forward and caught up with Luo Zhangqiong in an instant like a ray of dim light. Luo Zhangqiong's eyes were full of horror. The young man's battle strength was above his, but he was killed by Lu Ming in one move. If Lu Ming wanted to kill him, it wouldn't take him a second move. Lu Ming, you can't kill me. If you kill me, my grandfather won't let you go. Luo Zhangqiong roared. Your grandfather? He has already attacked me in the Yuan realm. Unfortunately, he is now seriously injured and I don't know where he went to heal. I will take his head myself in the future. Lu Ming sneered. He must kill Luo Zhangqiong. Autumn Moon was in a desperate situation because of Luo Zhangqiong and almost couldn't wake up. Later, Luo Zhangqiong's grandfather, the great emperor of Tianluo, joined the great emperor of the Mu clan to kill him in the ancient Moon Holy Land. It could be said that he, the Daluo Heaven sect, and the Luo clan were already mortal enemies. If Luo Zhangqiong didn't come to him, he would go to him. Since he met him today, he would not let him go. Impossible! Hearing Lu Ming's words, Luo Zhangqiong roared in disbelief. Go in peace. Lu Ming said indifferently and pointed his finger. Without any suspense, Luo Zhangqiong's glabella was pierced by the finger strength. His soul was destroyed and he died on the spot. So far, the two king bodies of the Daluo Heaven sect had been killed by Lu Ming. After killing Luo Zongqiong, Lu Ming chased after Luo Zongqiong. At this moment, Stellar River was flying at full speed. He had a feeling that if he didn't leave today, he wouldn't be able to. Lu Ming's battle prowess had exceeded his imagination. However, he still had hope. Lu Ming was just a cripple. He would never be able to become a martial monarch. Even if he could increase his battle prowess, it would be limited. He, on the other hand, didn't believe that he couldn't kill Lu Ming after becoming a true emperor. As long as he was alive, he could kill Lu Ming. Therefore, he used all his strength to run for his life. But when he turned around to look, he was scared out of his wits. Because Lu Ming was not far from him. Hung Xinghe, go down and accompany Luo Zongqiong, lest he be lonely. Lu Ming said coldly. He displayed the 6 feathered wings and was extremely fast. With a flap of the wings, he was close to Stellar River. Kill! The river of stars came to a stop, and with a shout, the godly bell of eternity appeared and began to vibrate. Now, Stellar River's cultivation was much stronger than before. He had reached the 3-star Void Emperor. Moreover, his eternal law had reached the 2nd realm and he had mastered a sovereign law. Therefore, the power of the eternal divine bell was many times stronger than before. Layers of sound waves rushed out and turned into sharp swords, slashing toward Lu Ming. It was extremely terrifying. This move again. Hung Xinghe, this move is useless against me. Lu Ming said faintly and blasted out a palm. Boom. The void exploded as the terrifying palm force rushed towards the Stellar River like an avalanche. The sharp swords formed by the sound waves of the eternal divine bell exploded and collapsed. The palm force continued to surge towards Stellar River and bombarded the eternal divine bell. The eternal divine bell vibrated violently and cracks appeared. Hung Xinghe's body was thrown out like a cannonball and he coughed up blood in the air. How is this possible? Stellar River roared, his voice full of disbelief. How could Lu Ming's combat strength be so strong? In the 5 years since he came to the Heaven Realm, Stellar River had received a lot of resources. There was even a big shot who valued him and took him in as a disciple. That was a heavenly emperor. Being a disciple of a heavenly emperor and receiving the heavenly emperor's training, he had made great progress in all aspects. His combat strength had increased tremendously. Even so, after 5 years, when he met Lu Ming again, he was even more vulnerable. He couldn't accept it. These people are so weak. Why are they here to kill Lu Ming? Dandan pursed his lips and was speechless. They are here to die. Gu Ying was also speechless. The surrounding onlookers were also discussing. Who is that person? What a strong combat strength. I heard them say that he has a peerless cripple physique. What's going on? I don't know. I know. I heard that there is a peerless cripple physique in the primordial realm. Before becoming an emperor, he has mastered many laws and even 2 supreme laws. What? 2 supreme laws of nature? The scene was in an uproar. Many people exclaimed, but even more people didn't believe it. They didn't believe that someone could master 2 supreme laws. That was impossible. In history, no one had ever done it. High in the sky, Lu Ming's figure didn't stop and continued to attack Stellar River. Using the 6-feathered divine wings, Lu Ming's speed was extremely fast. With a flap of his wings, Lu Ming instantly caught up with Stellar River. Lu Ming struck out with his palm again, bombarding Stellar River's eternal divine bell. This time, the eternal divine bell covering Stellar River's body directly exploded. The sound of bones breaking could be heard all over Stellar River's body. His body flew out and vomited blood. Lu Ming didn't use his full strength. In his palm, there were only 4 types of laws: Primal Chaos Law, Devour Law, Penetration Law, and Force Law. In the past few years, Lu Ming had improved too much. After refining a trace of energy from the ancestral dragon's blood, his physical strength skyrocketed. At the same time, the Alchemy Law, Tools Law, and Penetration Law were all perfected one after another. After tempering his physical body and saint power again and again, Lu Ming's physical body and saint power had improved a lot. Stellar River's strength was no weaker than Blue Cloud and Yan Shi that Lu Ming encountered 3 years ago. At that time, Lu Ming needed to go all out to fight with experts like Blue Cloud or Yan Shi. But now, Lu Ming was also using 4 types of laws. He hadn't even used his ultimate move yet, but he was able to crush Stellar River completely. Be on your way. Lu Ming chased after Stellar River. Stellar River went berserk and tried his best to escape. Lu Ming, you can't kill me. My master is the Heavenly Emperor. At the same time, Stellar River roared and mentioned his master, hoping that Lu Ming would have some scruples. But he also knew that he knew Lu Ming very well. Lu Ming was a lawless person, and there was no way to scare him. Sure enough, Lu Ming was unmoved and continued to chase after him. Despair appeared on Stellar River's face. Lu Ming, stop. Chapter 2235. Originally, Lu Ming wanted to kill Heng Xinghe and get rid of this problem. But at this moment, a fist energy traversed the void and blasted towards Lu Ming. Its power was extremely shocking. Law of Chaos. In this fist energy, Lu Ming felt the fluctuation of the law of chaos. Without thinking, Lu Ming struck out with his palm. Boom! Lu Ming's palm and the fist energy collided heavily. The void exploded and vibrated continuously. Extremely strong winds swept in all directions. Heng Xinghe's body trembled and was sent flying by the aftershock. He spat out a few mouthfuls of blood. Lu Ming looked up into the sky. A burly figure stepped through the air and looked down at Lu Ming. Yuan Exin. The corners of Lu Ming's mouth curled up slightly. Today was such a coincidence to meet an old acquaintance from the Yuan realm. Law of Chaos. That's Yuan Exin, the son of Chaos from the Yuan realm. I've heard of him. This person's talent is amazing. After coming to the Heaven realm, he was immediately taken in as a disciple by a top expert. He received a lot of resources to nurture him, and his progress was rapid. Some time ago, he defeated several famous geniuses from the Heaven realm. I've heard of him too. This person's talent is indeed amazing. He has a chance to compete with Jianghu in the future. This time, the Yuan realm has indeed produced many geniuses with amazing talent. Other than Yuan Exin, there's another person who is even more terrifying. He's a natural son of destiny and controls the law of destiny. There are also a few geniuses from the Archean system. They're also very terrifying. Obviously, after 5 years, those geniuses who came to the Yuan realm had risen rapidly. They had made a name for themselves in the Heaven realm and were known by many experts in the Heaven realm. Yuan Exin looked down from above. His eyes shone brightly as he stared at Lu Ming. A powerful battle intent emanated from his body. Lu Ming, I didn't expect you to come to the Heaven realm too. Although you can't become an emperor, your combat strength has reached this level. It's really amazing. But this is good too. When I kill you, I'll feel better. As he spoke, Yuan Exin's eyes revealed a sinister look. Do you remember what I said to you during the Battle of 10 Earths? As long as you're defeated by me once, you'll never be my match in the future. Lu Ming said softly, his voice full of disdain. Boasting shamelessly. A crippled body will never be able to become a martial emperor. Where does your confidence come from? Yuan Exin shouted coldly. Then, a terrifying aura burst out from his body. 4-star Void Emperor. This was Yuan Exin's current cultivation. 4-star illusionary emperors were already high-level illusionary emperors. They were much stronger than 3-star illusionary emperors. Powerful world energy surged and the power of laws revolved around Yuan Exin, making him look like a god of war. 3 types of laws. The law of primal chaos is already at the 2nd level. Lu Ming's heart stirred. He had a rough estimation of Yuan Exin's combat strength. Now, are you still confident? Yuan Exin spoke, full of confidence. To him, meeting Lu Ming today was a piece of great news. During the Battle of 10 Earths, he had been defeated by Tian Ming and Lu Ming, and he was still brooding over it. Today, he could defeat Lu Ming. He would defeat Tian Ming another day. He wanted to prove to everyone that he was the #1 genius of Yuanlu. In the future, he wanted to defeat the strongest genius of the Heaven Domain and stand at the peak. This was his ambition. Lu Ming is ours. At this moment, a cold voice sounded. In the distance, a few rays of light flew over rapidly. In the next moment, a few figures appeared in the sky. His powerful aura and cold murderous intent pressed toward Lu Ming without any concealment. Blue Cloud, Yanxi. Lu Ming's eyes flickered. It seemed that he had met a few old acquaintances. It was Blue Cloud and Yanxi. When the two of them looked at Lu Ming, their gazes were exceptionally cold. Lu Ming, I will kill you today, Blue Cloud said coldly. That day, because of Lu Ming, he was beaten so badly by Dandan. Later, because of Lu Ming, he did not get the treasure. Then, the two of them looked at Dandan and Mulin's, and cold, killing intent erupted from them. Of course, there was also greed. They recognized Mulin's. Back then, there was a small pagoda above Mulin's head. It was definitely a supreme treasure. Since they had met today, they would take it together. They were overjoyed. This was not a battlefield and there were not so many rules. It was normal to kill each other. You guys, surround those people. Blue Cloud shouted and waved his hand. Following Blue Cloud and Yanxi were a few middle-aged men. At this moment, they flashed and surrounded Dandan, Mulin's, and Guingzhong. These middle-aged men were all true emperors. Their terrifying auras made Mulin's and Guingzhong's face turn serious. Dandan's face darkened, and his eyes flashed with killing intent. Lu Ming, let's see who can save you today. Blue Cloud and Yanxi flashed and surrounded Lu Ming. Lu Ming, looks like you've offended a lot of people. Yuan Xen sneered. A bunch of clowns. Lu Ming said indifferently. What did you say? You're courting death. Blue Cloud shouted, and his aura became even colder. A few years had passed, and Blue Cloud and Yanxi had undoubtedly become stronger. Their cultivation had reached 4-star empty emperor, and their laws had improved. On the surface, they did not seem weaker than Yuan Xen. The three young experts surrounded Lu Ming. This useless body from the Yuan realm has offended so many people? He's overestimating himself. He's just a useless body that can never become an emperor. How dare he be so arrogant? Is he courting death? I heard that he's famous in Yuan continent, and he's ranked first among the younger generation in Yuan continent. This is normal. He has mastered many laws before becoming an emperor, so his combat strength must be very strong. It's a pity that he has no potential and can't become an emperor. I think he's used to being arrogant, so he doesn't understand his situation. Others can keep improving, but he's still so arrogant. He won't live for long. I think he's going to die today. Some people discussed and thought that Lu Ming was going to die today. Blue Cloud, Yanxi, and Yuan Xian were all much stronger than Xinghe. Now, the three of them were obviously going to deal with Lu Ming. Did Lu Ming still have a chance? Big brother Lu Ming. At this moment, a joyful voice was heard. The voice was crisp and pleasant. Then, the void flickered, and a figure suddenly appeared on Lu Ming's shoulder. Lu Ming did not dodge because he knew who it was when he heard the voice. Bubbles. Bubbles. Lu Ming called out with a smile on his face. It seemed that Bubbles had also arrived. They had not seen each other for 5 years, and Bubbles looked the same as before. She did not grow much older, and still looked like she was 2 or 3 years old. Big brother Lu Ming. Bubbles hung on Lu Ming's neck, and her little head rubbed against Lu Ming's body, unwilling to let go. Seeing Bubbles coming, Yuan Xian's eyes showed a trace of seriousness. Chapter 2236. After a while, Bubble raised her head and looked at Yuan Xian, Blue Cloud, and Yanxi. What do these guys want? They're asking for a beating. Bubble pouted and looked at Blue Cloud, Yanxi, and the others unkindly. It's her, the space-time spirit mouse. Blue Cloud and Yanxi also recognized Bubble. The top 10 young battle beasts were too rare, and their talents were astonishing. When Bubble came, she caused a sensation. Many people knew that a space-time spirit mouse came from the primordial realm. Moreover, she was taken in as a disciple by a terrifying divine beast. She was carefully taught, and her speed of improvement was amazing. Her combat strength was even stronger. During this period, many geniuses had been defeated by her. Blue Cloud and Yen she naturally knew. At the same time, they were also quite afraid of the existence behind Bubble. They didn't expect that Lu Ming and Bubble actually knew each other, and they seemed to have a good relationship. Hey, tell me, is it you and you who want to go against Big Brother Lu Ming? If you want to fight, you have to go through me first. Bubble waved her small fists and glanced at Blue Cloud and Yen Shi. This has nothing to do with you. Blue Cloud said coldly. Who said it has nothing to do with me? Bubble glared at Blue Cloud. You'd better not interfere in this matter. My Lan family may not be afraid of the person behind you. Blue Cloud said again. Nonsense, if you want to fight, then fight, chirp chirp. Bubble was angry and was about to attack. Bubble, I can deal with these people by myself. Lu Ming smiled and stopped Bubble. Oh, okay, Big Brother Lu Ming, beat them up for me, chirp chirp. Bubble cried, then turned her gaze and saw Dandan. Her big eyes immediately lit up, and she immediately appeared on Dandan's shoulder. Little turtle, long time no see, chirp chirp. Bubbles blinked her big eyes and carefully sized up Dandan. Although Dandan had taken human form and used a mysterious technique to restrain its aura, Bubble and Dandan were both top 10 war beasts and had extremely sharp senses. Bubble recognized Dandan at a glance. Dandan's face turned even darker. You're the little turtle, your whole family are little turtles. Dandan said unhappily. You're obviously a little tortoise, why don't you admit it? Chirp. Bubble pouted. Don't compare me to an ordinary tortoise. Dandan said angrily. Both of them stared at each other and bickered. Lu Ming smiled as his gaze swept over Blue Cloud, Yen Shi, and Yuan Xing. His indifferent voice sounded, all of you want to kill me, then come at me together. Don't waste my time. These words shocked everyone present. What? This trash actually asked Blue Cloud and the others to come at him together? Is he crazy? Although his combat strength is not bad, he's simply courting death by being so arrogant. The others were surprised. The faces of Blue Cloud and the others became even gloomier. Lu Ming wanted to fight the three of them alone, which was simply courting death. This was an insult to them. I alone am enough to deal with you. Blue Cloud took the lead. He punched out, and a lion's roar resounded through the sky. On his fist, there was a lion jumping and roaring with astonishing power. This was the divine ability passed down in Blue Cloud's family, which came from an ancient scripture. Compared to 3 years ago, Blue Cloud was undoubtedly stronger. Not only did his cultivation break through, but his law was also more profound. He had already comprehended the third law and reached the perfected first realm. With a punch, the lion's roar shook the sky, and the wind whistled, crushing towards Lu Ming. However, Lu Ming's expression was calm, and he simply struck out with his palm. For this palm, Lu Ming still only used the law of primal chaos, the law of force, the law of devour, and the law of penetration. However, Lu Ming's body trembled, and an even stronger force erupted. Boom! Lu Ming's palm collided with Blue Cloud's fist, and an astonishing vibration erupted. Then, Blue Cloud retreated frantically, and the lion on his fist let out a wail and exploded with a loud bang. Bang! 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 Blue Cloud retreated dozens of steps, his eyes filled with shock and disbelief. Lu Ming actually pushed him back with a palm. How was this possible? 3 years ago, Lu Ming's strength was at most slightly stronger than his. After 3 years, his combat strength had increased explosively. How could he be pushed back by Lu Ming's palm? Wasn't Lu Ming a trash who couldn't become a martial emperor? How could his strength improve so rapidly? He really couldn't figure it out. The others also couldn't figure it out, and each of them opened their mouths wide. Yuan Xian's pupils also shrank, and his heart was greatly shocked. I've said it before. The three of you should attack together, so as not to waste my time. Lu Ming said, his voice spreading far and wide. Blue Cloud, Yen Shi, and Yuan Xian's faces turned ugly. At this moment, they couldn't retreat, nor could they fight. If you're not going to attack, Then I'll do it. Lu Ming was incomparably powerful. He stepped out and directly attacked. Boom, boom, boom. He struck out 3 consecutive palms, and 3 powerful palm prints whistled out, respectively attacking Yuan Xian, Blue Cloud, and Yanxi. Since you're courting death, then I'll fulfill your wish. Let's attack together. Yanxi roared. He made his move. A saber appeared in his hand, and he slashed at Lu Ming. Blue Cloud followed suit. His fists continuously punched out. On both fists, there was a lion jumping and roaring continuously. Its power was extremely shocking. At the same time, Yuan Xian also attacked. He erupted with all his strength, waving his fists. His full strength condensed into a mountain, and he attacked Lu Ming. Yuan Xian was undoubtedly stronger. In the Battle of the 10 Lands, he only grasped a single law. Now, he grasped a higher level of law. Each attack had several laws erupting, and with the law of chaos as the core, its power was extremely shocking. The 3 of them joined forces, and the void was boiling. It was completely destroyed. Boom, boom, boom. The attacks of the 3 collided with Lu Ming's palm prints. The void rumbled continuously, and the force swept in all directions. Some of the weaker cultivators retreated continuously. But what was shocking was that after the collision, Lu Ming's figure didn't move at all. He stood in the void, and his expression was very calm. He was fighting 1 against 3, and he didn't seem to be at a disadvantage at all. Impossible! Yuan Xian roared in his heart. The power of the world erupted completely. Mountains crushed towards Lu Ming, wanting to crush Lu Ming into pieces. At the same time, Blue Cloud and Yanxi also roared and charged towards Lu Ming. Just so. Lu Ming spoke. This time he pointed out 3 fingers in a row. This was the Chaos Calamity finger, but its power had far surpassed the Chaos Ring. Because of this finger, Lu Ming had fused 5 types of laws. Law of Chaos, Law of Devour, Law of Force, Law of Penetration, Law of Array Dao. In the Gu family, Lu Ming often sparred with Dandan. Dandan's understanding and use of laws had reached an unbelievable level. Lu Ming also benefited a lot. His use of laws far surpassed Yuan Xian and the rest. With 5 types of laws gathered, the power was shocking. Chapter 2237. 3 huge fingers, shining with 5 different colors, filled the sky as if a deity had stretched out 3 fingers. Lu Ming used 5 types of laws in this attack. There was 1 more law than before, and it was more powerful. Boom, boom, boom. The 3 fingers collided with Yuan Xian, Blue Cloud, and Yanxi's attacks. The mountain formed by the Yuan Xian shook violently and then directly exploded. The huge lion formed by Blue Cloud's divine ability let out a wail and exploded. Yanxi's saber light also shattered. A terrifying power surged toward the 3 of them. The 3 of them retreated frantically. Their bodies shook as if they had been electrocuted and blood spurted out of their mouths. After adding a type of law, Lu Ming's attack power increased greatly. He injured Yuan Xian, Blue Cloud, and Yanxi in 1 move. The spectators were dumbfounded. They could not believe what they were seeing. Yuan Xian, Blue Cloud, and Yanxi were all 4-star empty emperors. They were all high-level empty emperors. Moreover, they were all top prodigies. Their combat power could not be measured by their cultivation. However, the 3 of them were attacking Lu Ming but were injured by Lu Ming in 1 move. How was this possible? Lu Ming had not become a martial emperor yet. He had not become a martial emperor, but he was able to surpass so many levels of cultivation and suppress 3 top prodigies with his cultivation of a boundary emperor. Everyone felt like they were going crazy. This had broken common sense and had never happened before. Even prodigies like Yuan Xian, Blue Cloud, and Yanxi were suppressed by Lu Ming. If an ordinary empty emperor went up, wouldn't he be killed by Lu Ming in an instant? Wouldn't Lu Ming be able to suppress an ordinary 5-star empty emperor or even a 6-star empty emperor? This was crazy. However, this was far from Lu Ming's strongest battle strength. If they knew that Lu Ming still had a large amount of battle strength left, who knew how they would feel? Lu Ming couldn't be bothered to care about what the others thought. At this moment, he continued to charge towards Yuan Xian's group of 3. Bush, bush, bush. Lu Ming continued to attack with his finger. One finger after another flew towards the 3 of them. The 3 of them roared and unleashed all of their strength to attack Lu Ming. It could be seen that Yuan Xian was indeed slightly stronger. Her battle prowess was above Blue Cloud and Yan Shi, and her injuries were also lighter. However, he was not much stronger, and was still crushed by Lu Ming. 3 rumbling sounds rang out. The 3 of them retreated, coughing up blood. Kill! Lu Ming shouted and activated the 6 feathered wings. His figure flashed and appeared in front of Blue Cloud. Blue Cloud was startled. His body glowed as a lion pounced forward. However, Lu Ming unleashed a palm strike with 5 different colors. It collided with the lion's palm. The gigantic lion's palm shattered immediately. The palm then landed on the gigantic lion's head. One could see the gigantic lion's body exploding inch by inch. In the end, it exploded with a loud bang. Lu Ming's palm did not stop. He continued to hit Lan Yun. Blue Cloud screamed as his body was penetrated. He spat out blood and was blown away like a broken sandbag. Young master! Damn it! The true emperors surrounding Dandan and Mulin's roared, wanting to save Blue Cloud. You think you can come and go as you please? Did you ask for my permission? Dandan coldly retorted before attacking the true emperors with lightning speed. Dandan waved his hand and 9 different colors appeared on his body. These were 9 different laws. All of them were at the 2nd level while some were at the 3rd level. The true emperors were shocked by Dandan's battle prowess. There were 5 true emperors, the strongest of which was a 5-star true emperor. They attacked Dandan at the same time. A few of them were quite strong with profound laws. However, there was still a gap between them and Dandan. Dandan wasn't at a disadvantage at all despite fighting 1 against 5. In fact, he even had the upper hand. This came as a great shock to the others. They didn't expect this seemingly ordinary young Taoist to be this strong. Not only was he a true emperor, but his battle prowess was also outrageous. It was clear that Dandan was only a 1-star true emperor, but his battle prowess was frightening. Even a 5-star true emperor wasn't his match and was easily suppressed. His laws are too frightening. A 1-star true emperor has cultivated 9 laws to this level. Unbelievable! An older character sighed. 4 void emperors and true emperors, their battle prowess was determined by their laws. Cultivation did affect battle prowess, but it wasn't as great as laws. This was especially true for true emperors. The number of laws they had grasped and the strength of their mastery would greatly affect their battle prowess. Many people who had cultivated for hundreds of thousands of years, or even millions of years, might not be able to cultivate the laws to Dandan's level. This was talent. The true emperors from the Lan and Yen were being held back by Dandan and couldn't help. At this moment, Lu Ming's figure flashed and he appeared next to Yan Shi. He struck a palm and Yan Shi followed in Lan Yun's footsteps. She was beaten until she vomited blood. You want to kill me? Today I'll kill all of you. Lu Ming said coldly. His voice was very cold. He knew that the Lan and Yen clans were powerful clans in heaven with deep foundations. They definitely had heavenly emperors in charge. Killing Blue Cloud and Yan Shi would bring about a lot of trouble. However, the other party had tried to kill him time and time again. Lu Ming wanted to kill them. At most, he would kill them and find a place to hide or go to the Gu family to cultivate in seclusion. Although Lan Yun and Yan Shi were seriously injured, they were not dead yet. At this moment, they were so scared that their bodies were trembling. They used all of their strength to frantically retreat. Save me! They shouted at the same time. Junior, don't you dare! There was a loud roar and a burly old man dashed out of the crowd. He lifted a huge hammer and smashed it toward Lu Ming. A true emperor! Lu Ming's eyes narrowed. He didn't dare to meet the attack head-on and used his wings to dodge. Kill him! Kill him for me! Lan Yun recognized that it was an expert from the Yen family and immediately roared. Die! The burly old man rushed at Lu Ming with his hammer. He wanted to kill Lu Ming. A great true emperor attacking a quasi-emperor? How shameless! I'll be your opponent. Dan roared angrily and attacked several times. His attack method was very special. All the laws were transformed into runes, and the runes could condense into all kinds of terrifying attacks. The power was shocking. Boom, boom. The two true emperors in front of Dandan vomited blood and quickly retreated. Meanwhile, Dandan went for the burly old man. So what if you have a hammer? Watch my hammer, smash. Dandan shouted and swung his fist at the old man. As his fist smashed down, cymbals filled the air. An enormous hammer was formed, one that was even larger than his opponent's. It smashed down with a loud bang. Boom! The two hammers collided, causing the space to tremble. The burly old man's arm exploded and he retreated while vomiting blood. Save the young master. Chapter 2238. The true emperors from the Lan and Yen clans who were attacking Dandan seized the opportunity and appeared next to Blue Cloud and Yen Shi. They used their world force to grab the two and ran away. Many people were dumbfounded. Lan Yun and Yen Shi came in a domineering manner and even brought along a true emperor powerhouse to kill Lu Ming. In the end, they had to flee in a sorry state. The speed of a true emperor was too fast. It was hard for Lu Ming to catch up with him. Lu Ming looked in another direction. Over there, Yuan Xen led the stellar river in a mad dash, not daring to stop at all. Umph! Lu Ming snorted coldly. He cast the six-feathered divine wings and flapped them, chasing after Yuan Xen at lightning speed. Yuan Xen's speed couldn't compare to Lu Ming's and Lu Ming caught up. Damn it! Yuan Xen roared. Xing He was terrified. Lu Ming was determined to kill them. Die! Lu Ming said coldly and pointed with his finger. A huge finger blasted towards Yuan Xen. Chaos physique! Yuan Xen roared loudly, displaying the primal chaos divine body. His current primal chaos divine body was greatly different from back then. It had been improved, able to merge many types of natural laws, its power astonishing. Boom! He punched continuously, wanting to stop Lu Ming's attack. But the three of them weren't Lu Ming's match before. He was far from it alone. The giant finger crushed down, crushing Yuan Xen's fist force as easily as crushing dry leaves and smashing rotten wood. Yuan Xen's body shook violently and he spat out mouthfuls of blood. Xing He was also swept away by the aftershock and his injuries worsened. Lu Ming, my master is a heavenly emperor, Heng Xinghe roared. He was really afraid that Lu Ming would kill him here. What's the point of bringing up the mastermind? Lu Ming sneered and stepped forward. He wanted to be the first to kill Xing He. Xinghe resisted the pain of his injuries and retreated, unwilling to be killed just like that. Boom! But Lu Ming didn't give him a chance. He pointed with his finger and a sharp finger force pierced through the void and shot towards Xing He's forehead. No, Xing He shouted because he couldn't block it. He was going to be killed. At this moment, a light suddenly appeared in front of him. This ray of light was like a shield. Lu Ming's finger force hit it, but it did not have any effect at all. Boom! Then, a large hand reached out from afar. The huge hand was extremely fast and the aura it exuded was extremely terrifying. Heavenly Emperor! Lu Ming was shocked. This giant hand exuded the pressure of the heavenly Tao. It was unbelievably powerful. Master! Xing He shouted excitedly. His master had also come to Alcade Ancient City. He knew that he would be fine. However, that huge hand did not attack Lu Ming and the rest. With a grab, it grabbed Heng Xing River and Yuan Xen and then retreated rapidly, disappearing from sight. The people around them heaved a sigh of relief. The Heavenly Emperor's aura was too strong. Even though it was far away, it was as if a huge mountain was pressing down on them. On the other side of Alcade Ancient City, in a huge luxurious courtyard, Xing He and Yuan Xen appeared. In front of them, there was an old man in a gray robe standing with his hands behind his back. Thank you for saving us, master. Xing He quickly thanked him. Thank you, senior. Yuan Xen also bowed. The old man in a gray robe nodded. Master, you should have killed Lu Ming. That guy is too arrogant and doesn't put you in his eyes at all. He wanted to persuade the old man to kill Lu Ming. Shut up. The old man shouted coldly. His eyes emitted a shocking light. The cold aura shook He's heart and made him break out in cold sweat. A dignified martial emperor was not a match for a quasi-emperor and was seriously injured. I was already thick-skinned enough to save him. You want me, a dignified heavenly emperor, to kill a junior because my disciple is no match for him? What will others think of me? The old man in a gray robe said. His eyes became colder and colder. He's face turned pale and cold sweat broke out on his face. Yuan Xen lowered his head and didn't dare to speak. Although they were top geniuses, they were nothing in front of a heavenly emperor. They might not be able to step into the heavenly emperor realm in the future. Any heavenly emperor was a talented person. When they were young, they were not inferior to them. Therefore, they didn't have the slightest arrogance in front of a heavenly emperor. Also, do you think that if I really kill Lu Ming, the other heavenly emperors won't do anything? Now that the heavenly realm is facing a great enemy, there are some rules. Do you understand? The old man in a gray robe continued. This disciple knows his mistake. He nodded repeatedly. You have to settle the grudges between you. After this matter in Mount Eternal is over, go back and cultivate in seclusion. Don't come out until you become a true emperor. The old man in a gray robe instructed. Yes. He nodded. At the same time, his eyes flashed with cold light. Lu Ming, in the future, I will kill you with my own hands. If you can't become a true emperor, I don't believe that your combat strength will continue to increase. He roared in his heart. Yuan Xian's eyes flashed with cold light. He had the same thoughts as He. In the future, he would personally chop off Lu Ming's head and seize the Primal Chaos Scripture. The Primal Chaos Scripture is mine. Yuan Xian roared in his heart. The heavenly emperor's body is mine. He gritted his teeth. On the other side, Lu Ming also sighed. This time, he could have killed Yuan Xian and He. Unfortunately, He's master was an Alcade ancient city and all his efforts were in vain. Lu Ming could also guess that the heavenly emperor would not lower himself to deal with a boundary emperor like him. It's okay. As long as you become a true emperor, dealing with these small fries will be a piece of cake. Dandan walked over and said with a smile. He knew very well that Lu Ming was able to comprehend many kinds of laws before becoming a true emperor. Once he became a true emperor, there would be an astonishing change. Well done, chirp chirp. Bubble jumped from Dandan's shoulder to Lu Ming's shoulder and hung on Lu Ming's body, rubbing against him. Let's continue to stroll. Lu Ming smiled. Everyone strolled around Alcade ancient city again. At the same time, Lu Ming learned from Bubble that Long Chen, Ouyang Wushuang, and the others were still cultivating in seclusion and did not come here. After this battle, Lu Ming's name was completely spread. Before becoming a true emperor, he had already mastered many kinds of laws. Legend had it that he had mastered different kinds of supreme laws and defeated Yuan Xian, Blue Cloud, and Yanxi. Such combat strength was shocking. In the past, Lu Ming's name was only spread among a small group of sky prides. Now, many people knew about it. However, there were also many people who did not believe it and held a skeptical attitude. They felt that the fact that he had mastered different kinds of supreme laws was too fake. They did not believe it. Since ancient times, no one had been able to master two different kinds of supreme laws. This was regarded as the truth. Now, it was said that someone who had not become a true emperor could master different kinds of supreme laws. How could they believe it? Even those who had seen Lu Ming in action were skeptical. Chapter 2239. Lu Ming's name had become a topic of conversation for many people while waiting for Mount Eternal to ascend. The following days were relatively peaceful. Lu Ming and the others were cultivating in seclusion in their residence. As time passed, more and more people came to Alcade Ancient City. Almost every day, there were people trying to climb Mount Eternal. There were martial artists of all levels, from martial saints to heavenly emperors, but no one could climb Mount Eternal. Everyone could only wait patiently. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. On this day, Mount Eternal suddenly emitted a bright light. At the same time, a bell rang and spread throughout Alcade ancient city. Everyone was alarmed and flew out of their residences. There's movement in Mount Eternal. Can we enter? Let's go and take a look. Countless people flew into the sky and flew towards Mount Eternal. Lu Ming and the others also woke up from their cultivation and followed the Gu clan leader and the others to Mount Eternal. For a time, Mount Eternal was surrounded by people. It was truly a sea of people. No one knew how many people there were. The temptation of the indestructible ancient scripture was too strong. With the indestructible ancient scripture, it was almost equivalent to immortality. As long as one did not turn into ashes, one could recover no matter how serious one's injuries were. It was equivalent to having many more lives. With the indestructible ancient scripture, one could go to many dangerous forbidden places and obtain treasures. Their cultivation could also improve quickly. Who wouldn't be tempted by such an ancient scripture? Many heavenly emperors had rushed over. Even the heavenly emperors could not remain calm. Countless people surrounded Mount Eternal and waited nervously. At this moment, a figure appeared in Mount Eternal. A burly figure slowly walked out from the depths of Mount Eternal. Many people could not help but widen their eyes. There's someone in Mount Eternal. Could it be that the indestructible emperor is not dead? That's impossible. Many people were shocked and some were skeptical. Soon, a tall figure appeared in front of everyone. It was a middle-aged man. No, it's a puppet. A heavenly emperor powerhouse opened his mouth, seeing through the situation. This middle-aged man was a puppet. So it's a puppet. It should have been left behind by the indestructible emperor. Many people's hearts stirred as their gazes gathered on the puppet. The puppet with the appearance of a middle-aged man spoke with a loud voice that echoed in the surroundings. By the will of the immortal martial monarch, the immortal ancient scripture is about to be reborn. These words made everyone's heart beat faster, and their eyes lit up. The indestructible ancient scripture was about to appear. Many people's eyes were burning with passion. However, the immortal monarch has ordered that if you want to obtain the immortal ancient scripture, you have to pass a test. The middle-aged puppet continued. Dare I ask, what kind of test do you need to go through? A heavenly emperor powerhouse asked. It's very simple. First, let's start with the celestial emperors. Those who become celestial emperors within 10,000 years, please step into Mount Eternal. After passing the test, you will be able to obtain the indestructible ancient scripture. You don't have to think about deceiving me. I have my own ways to know if you broke through to the heavenly emperor realm within 10,000 years. South Central Puppet said. What? To become a celestial emperor in 10,000 years? How is that possible? Immediately, those heavenly emperor realm characters could not remain calm anymore. The others were also speechless. Becoming a heavenly emperor within 10,000 years, this condition was also too difficult. After reaching the martial emperor realm, it was extremely difficult to raise one's cultivation base. Some who were not talented enough might go into seclusion for more than 10,000 years. For some, it might take more than 10,000 years to raise one's cultivation base. It might even take tens of thousands of years or hundreds of thousands of years. To become a celestial emperor within 10,000 years, this condition was too harsh. Looks like there isn't one. The middle-aged puppet sighed. Isn't this condition too harsh? Some celestial emperors were unwilling. This is the rule set by the sovereign. I have no right to change it. The middle-aged puppet said. Those celestial emperors sighed, very unwilling. Unfortunately, no one met the condition. Since there isn't one, then let's move on. Those who break through to the great emperor realm within 1,000 years can enter Mount Eternal for the test. The middle-aged puppet continued. Become a great emperor in 1,000 years? Those great emperor realm powerhouses also turned pale. Although becoming a great emperor in 1,000 years was not as exaggerated as becoming a celestial emperor in 10,000 years, and the difficulty was not that great, it was only relative. In essence, the difficulty was also astonishing. One by one, the great emperors looked at each other and finally shook their heads. No one could meet the condition. No one? Then let's move on. Those who become a true emperor in 100 years can enter Mount Eternal for the test. The middle-aged puppet continued. A true emperor in 100 years? Haha, isn't this tailor-made for me? Here I come. Dandan grinned from ear to ear, extremely excited. In a sense, Dandan had been reborn. This life was a new one. He had indeed become a true emperor in 100 years. In addition to Dandan, a few others also flew up. There were more than 10 of them. A lot of them became true emperors in 100 years. The 9 absolutes of the younger generation all became true emperors in 100 years. Some of the other geniuses are almost 100 years old. Look, there are at least 7 of the 9 absolutes. Someone on the side exclaimed. Lu Ming focused his gaze. True enough, among the dozen people, there were some who looked exceptionally young. They seemed to be in their 20s. There were both males and females. There were also some who looked to be in their 30s. These people had all become true emperors in 100 years. Lu Ming had learned that the 9 absolutes were the most outstanding geniuses of the younger generation in the heaven world. All of them had entered the true emperor realm. Countless people looked at them with envy. Being able to enter Mount Eternal meant that they had a chance of obtaining the indestructible ancient scripture. The group flew towards Mount Eternal. When they were close, the middle-aged puppet waved its hand and a door of light appeared in the sky. You all can enter, the puppet said. Immediately, the group rushed into the door of light and disappeared. The test will take some time, wait patiently. Having said that, the puppet sat down cross-legged and closed its eyes to rest. The others waited quietly. More than 10 days passed and the people who had entered still hadn't come out. Lu Ming took out an imperial weapon and sat on it, closing his eyes to comprehend the laws. Right now, he was only left with the law of life. Once he reached the first level, he would be able to break through to the martial emperor realm. Therefore he had to seize the time. Time passed day by day. In the blink of an eye, 2 months had passed. At this time, there was finally some movement in Mount Eternal. Mount Eternal emitted a bright light. After a slight tremor, more than 10 figures appeared outside Mount Eternal. They were the people who had entered Mount Eternal before. Everyone's eyes fell on them, full of anticipation. Did any of them obtain the indestructible ancient scripture? However, all of them were dejected and full of unwillingness. How is it? What's the situation inside? Many people began to ask. Chapter 2240. Dandan, what's going on inside? Did you get the indestructible ancient scripture? Lu Ming asked hurriedly. Don't ask me. I need some peace and quiet. Dandan pulled a long face, looking extremely depressed and unwilling. This guy must have failed. Chirp chirp. Bubbles mocked. Bullshit, how could I fail? Let me tell you, I'm the only one who succeeded, but that old guy Immortal Emperor is still holding a grudge and won't give me the indestructible ancient scripture. I can't accept it. That old guy is so narrow-minded. Dandan shouted as if he had gone mad. Lu Ming, Bubbles, Guying, and the others stared at him. Dandan really succeeded? He passed the test? Could it be that he was bragging? The others naturally heard Dandan's words, but they all looked at Dandan with disdain. If he failed, so be it. How dare he brag as if he knew the Immortal Emperor? No one believed Dandan's words. Why didn't the Immortal Emperor give you the indestructible ancient scripture? Lu Ming asked. He really believed that Dandan had passed the test. Dandan was one of the top 10 battle beasts, the world divine turtle. He had fully recovered his memories and his combat power was shockingly high. If even Dandan couldn't pass, then no one could. That guy is narrow-minded and narrow-minded. Didn't I just take something from him in the past? Does he have to hold a grudge until now? Dandan was very unhappy and gritted his teeth. Took something from him? Lu Ming understood. This guy must have taken more than a few things. He must have offended the Immortal Emperor in the past. The others looked at him with disdain. This guy sounded like he was telling the truth. Wait! Lu Ming suddenly thought of something and sent a voice transmission to Dandan. According to what you said, the Immortal Emperor is still alive? He's dead, he's dead. He holds grudges, that's just my guess. Otherwise, why wouldn't he give me the indestructible ancient scripture? Dandan pouted angrily. Dandan, what's the content of the test? Lu Ming asked. No one has obtained the indestructible ancient scripture. Now, those who have become martial emperors under the age of 50 enter the examination. Quickly, the middle-aged puppet urged, as if it didn't want the people who had entered before to reveal too much about the situation inside. He became a martial emperor before the age of 50. Mulin's and the others' eyes lit up. Let's go, Guing said. At this moment, there were already figures flying towards Mount Eternal. Becoming a martial monarch within the age of 50? If I haven't become a martial monarch yet, doesn't that mean I can't enter? No, let's give it a try. Thoughts flashed through Lu Ming's mind, but he didn't think too much and flew over as well. There were many people who had become great emperors under the age of 50. There were at least 1,000 of them. Back then, during the Battle of the 10 Earths, there were 100 or 200 people in the primordial realm who had become great emperors under the age of 50. As for the heaven realm, whether it was the cultivation environment or cultivation resources, it was better than the primordial realm. The inheritance was more complete. Moreover, it had been more than 5 years since the Battle of the 10 Earths. Naturally, there were more people who had become great emperors. Therefore, there were many people who had become great emperors under the age of 50 in the heaven realm. This was only a portion of them. There must be people who hadn't come. Otherwise, there would be more. In the crowd, Lu Ming saw Xing Xinhe and Yuan Xen, as well as Blue Cloud, Yan Shi, and the others. They also saw Lu Ming. Senior, this person hasn't become great emperor. He wants to fish in troubled waters and sneak in. Blue Cloud suddenly shouted at the middle-aged puppet. Lu Ming's eyes flashed with a trace of gloominess. The middle-aged puppet looked at Lu Ming. Its eyes were bright as if it wanted to see through Lu Ming. Blue Cloud, Yan Shi, Xing Xinhe, and the others sneered. Lu Ming still wanted to sneak in? How was that possible? This time, he would definitely be punished by the middle-aged puppet. At this moment, the middle-aged puppet's eyes revealed a look of surprise. It seemed to be very surprised, then it nodded and said, his situation is special. He can go in. Blue Cloud, Yan Shi, and the others were dumbfounded. Damn it. Then they gritted their teeth. These idiots, chirp chirp. Bubbles cried out, gloating over their misfortune. Blue Cloud and the others' faces were ugly as they rushed into the light door. Lu Ming, Bubbles, Mulin's, Guingzhong, and the others also entered the light door one after another. The next moment, Lu Ming found that he appeared on a platform. At this moment, there were at least 100 people gathered on the platform. In front of the platform, there was a wide road that went up diagonally. Is this place inside Mount Eternal? Does this road lead to the top of the mountain? Lu Ming thought. Then he looked in other directions. He found that there were a total of 9 platforms. In the middle of the platforms was a pitch-black abyss that separated them from each other. Each platform had a wide road that went up diagonally. 9 platforms, 9 roads. On each platform, there were more than 100 people. Thousands of people were equally divided among the 9 platforms. Bubbles, Mulin's, and Guingzhong were all on Lu Ming's platform. At this moment, a figure suddenly appeared in the air. It looked exactly like the middle-aged puppet from before, but it was obviously just a shadow. For the first assessment, as long as you set foot on this road and walk to the end of the road, you will pass. Let's go. After he finished speaking, he disappeared. Whoosh. Whoosh. Immediately, some people rushed onto the road and rushed forward, afraid that someone would beat them to it if they were a step too slow. Boom. Boom. But just as these people rushed on the road, there was a rumbling sound. Above the road, thunderbolts appeared out of thin air and continuously struck towards them. Bang. Some people couldn't resist and retreated while coughing up blood. Some people blocked the thunderbolts and continued to go up, but the thunderbolts continued to strike at them. This road is indeed not that simple. Let's go up. Lu Ming said, and the few of them rushed on the road. This road looked very old, but it was very wide. There was no problem for hundreds of people to walk side by side. When they stepped on the ancient road, thunderbolts appeared out of thin air and struck towards them. Lu Ming waved his hand and destroyed the thunderbolts that struck towards him. The power of this thunderbolt is very weak. Lu Ming was surprised. He found that the thunderbolts that struck towards him were not strong at all and were easily blocked by him. At the same time, Bubbles, Gu Yingzhong, Mulins, and the others all blocked the thunderbolts. That's not right. It seems that people with different cultivation levels face different thunderbolts. This test is based on cultivation level. Lu Ming discovered a secret. Obviously, those with higher cultivation levels would not have an advantage here. The test here would adjust the power of the thunderbolts based on cultivation level. One would not be able to pass by relying on cultivation level. One had to rely on talent and combat strength that surpassed one's level. No wonder the thunderbolts that struck Lu Ming were not powerful. It was because Lu Ming's cultivation level was not high to begin with. Chapter 2241. Lu Ming was naturally very relaxed. The lightning here did not pressure him at all. As for Bubble, it was a space-time spirit mouse, so it naturally did not feel any pressure. Lonely Shadow was heavy, but the top geniuses also did not feel any pressure. Mulins, who had inherited the legacy of a peerless expert, was also very strong. She also moved forward easily. But the others were not so relaxed. Many people were struck by the lightning until they vomited blood. Their bodies were charred black, and they had no choice but to retreat to the platform. Some people were unwilling and wanted to step on the air and rush up, but they found that it was impossible. There was a powerful force suppressing them, making them unable to fly. Many people could only stop, knowing that the indestructible ancient scripture was not fated with them. Some stronger geniuses continued to move forward, especially those who controlled many types of laws, and even those who controlled the strongest laws. Their speed was very fast, and they continued to move forward. Lu Ming, Bubble, and the other three moved forward at a uniform speed. The higher they went, the stronger the lightning became. This lightning filled the sky, constantly striking Lu Ming. Lu Ming's body was surrounded by laws, setting up a defense. The lightning could not break through Lu Ming's defense at all. Bubble and the others also followed Lu Ming, moving forward. With a scream, a young man was charred black by the lightning, and his body almost cracked. With a scream, his body was sent flying and fell on the platform, but he did not die. Here, at most, one would be seriously injured, and there would not be a situation of death. Every time they moved forward, someone would be sent flying. This ancient road was unknown how long it was. Lu Ming and the others walked for 3 days, and in 3 days, they were constantly bombarded by lightning. After 3 days, at least half of them were eliminated. After walking for 3 days, the lightning finally stopped. But before they could rejoice, when they continued to move forward, the temperature on the ancient road dropped sharply. Endless coldness drilled into their bodies, wanting to freeze them. As they continued to move forward, the coldness dropped even more, and the temperature dropped to an astonishing level. Some people could not resist, and their whole body was directly frozen, turning into an ice sculpture. Then, with a bang, this frozen person was sent flying. He was probably thrown off the platform. Hoo-hoo, gusts of cold wind blew, chilling to the bone. There were actually snowflakes falling from the sky. A young man screamed miserably as he was nearly cleaved in half by a snowflake. He was sent flying while vomiting blood. These snowflakes were sharper than the heavenly sabers. Every illusory snowflake was a powerful killing weapon. Everyone focused their attention to block the snowflakes. All sorts of attacks were launched, colliding with the snowflakes and creating clanging sounds. Some people couldn't withstand it and were blasted away. Others carried the snowflakes and continued forward. The further they went, the denser the snowflakes became. In the end, the sky was filled with flying snow, and its power was astonishing. Clang, clang. Pieces of snowflakes landed on Lu Ming's defense law. They were like extremely sharp weapons that cut Lu Ming's defense law, emitting sounds of metal clashing against metal. At the same time, There was a bone-chilling cold that wanted to rush into Lu Ming's body, but it was blocked by Lu Ming's law power. There were fewer and fewer people who could make it here. Lu Ming discovered that the situation of the other 8 ancient roads was exactly the same as theirs. The tests they experienced were also the same. Just like that, after a few more days, they crossed this land of ice. However, what they faced was a land of fire. Ahead, the raging flames were astonishingly powerful. Every time they stepped into an area, the test they faced in the next area would become stronger. At this point, Mulin's became somewhat strenuous. After all, she had just become a martial emperor. Her comprehension of laws was slightly weaker, and she was already pushing it. As they continued forward, Mulins's face turned somewhat pale. "Senior Sister Mulins, if you can't withstand it, don't force yourself," Lu Ming said. "It's fine. I can still endure." Mulins stubbornly raised her head and continued forward. Just like that, after a few more days, they crossed this area and arrived at a land of strong winds. The endless strong winds were like countless sharp weapons, cutting them. The power was even more astonishing. At this point, even Lu Ming had to be serious. As for Mulins, she finally couldn't withstand it anymore. With a muffled groan, her body retreated. A few wounds were cut on her body by the strong winds, and blood flowed out. "Senior Sister Mulins, don't force yourself," Lu Ming shouted. In this place, they couldn't help each other. They could only rely on themselves. Mulins gritted her teeth and finally sighed. She took a step forward and leaped backward. This was equivalent to admitting defeat. A force appeared out of thin air and pulled Mulins. Her figure disappeared. Lu Ming, Bubbles, and Gu Yingzhong continued forward. This road was very long, as if there was no end. As they moved forward, they experienced all kinds of tests. There were places full of poison, places full of curses, and also mountains of swords and sabers. Nearly a month later, Gu Yingzhong finally couldn't withstand it and was blasted away. Only a few people were left on this road. It was the same for the other roads. There weren't many people left. For example, Blue Cloud and Yan Shi were eliminated. However, Lu Ming saw Yuan Xin and Tian Ming. They were still persevering. After a few more days, there were only 3 people left on Lu Ming's road. Lu Ming, Bubbles, and a beautiful woman. This woman's talent was also astonishingly high. The law she controlled was more than Gu Yingzhong. Her mastery was more profound, which was why she could reach here. The other 8 roads were about the same. There were only a few people left on each road. The road has come to an end. Suddenly, the beautiful woman's eyes lit up. There was no road ahead. The ancient road had come to an end. Lu Ming's face also showed joy. At this time, a figure appeared again. "Congratulations to all of you for passing the first test. Next, it's the second test." After saying that, the ancient road in front of Lu Ming's group suddenly wriggled. Then, 3 platforms appeared. 3 platforms, 1 for each person. It was the same for the other ancient roads. There were as many platforms as there were people. Choose a platform at will and then place your palm on it, the figure said. Lu Ming and the others stepped forward, chose a platform at random, and then placed their palms on the platform. The platform was smooth and cold to the touch. Buzz. When their palms were placed on the platform emitted endless light. Endless runes appeared on it, following Lu Ming and the others' palms and enveloping their bodies. Boom. At this moment, Lu Ming felt the world spinning. The surrounding environment changed and he came to a void. In the void, there were rays of light shining. Then, a ray of light suddenly rushed toward Lu Ming. It was like a sharp sword, slashing at Lu Ming. Lu Ming was shocked. He quickly burst out his saint power, controlled the law, and slapped out. Boom! Chapter 2242. A ray of light flew towards Lu Ming and was sent flying by Lu Ming's palm. However, the ray of light did not dissipate. After it was sent flying, it hovered in the distance and became even more radiant. This is the power of the law, and it's the law of chaos. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. The ray of light that contained the law of chaos moved again. Like a flying sword, It crossed the void and slashed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming manipulated the power of the law and was about to counterattack, but he was immediately shocked. In addition to this ray of light, there were other rays of light that rushed towards Lu Ming. Each ray of light was like a sword light and was extremely powerful. Lu Ming did not dare to be careless. The sword of death condensed in his hand. He circulated his saint force to the extreme and slashed out 9 times in an instant. Clang, clang, clang. The sword of death collided with the 9 rays of light. It was like a battle sword colliding with each other. Sparks flew and the sound of metal clashing was endless. The 9 rays of light were sent flying by Lu Ming. 9 laws, they correspond to my law. Lu Ming raised his eyebrows. He could see that the 9 rays of light represented 9 laws. They were exactly the same as the 9 laws that Lu Ming controlled. The 9 rays of light floated in the distance and became more and more radiant. Whoosh, whoosh. Then, the 9 rays of light moved again. Their speed was even more astonishing than before. They came from 9 different directions and stabbed towards Lu Ming. Lu Ming's mind was highly focused. He used all 9 laws and surrounded his body. At the same time, the sword of death contained 7 laws. First, a ray of sword light stabbed towards Lu Ming from behind. It was a ray of sword light formed by the law of penetration. Its speed was extremely fast and exceeded the speed of a human's reaction. Lu Ming shouted and slashed behind him to block the ray of sword light. However, in other directions, the rays of sword light formed by the law attacked separately. They were like streams of light and were extremely fast. Lu Ming unleashed his 6-feathered divine wings and dodged with all his might. At the same time, he slashed out countless sword lights in all directions. Even so, the sword light still managed to slip through, breaking through Lu Ming's defenses and leaving a sword wound on Lu Ming's body. Blood flowed out, causing half of Lu Ming's body to go numb. Lu Ming hurriedly circulated the law of life, finally sealing the wound and healing it quickly. However, the attack of the nomological sword lights was far from over. It was just the beginning. Whoosh, whoosh. Rays of light crisscrossed. 9 kinds of dazzling law light constantly shot towards Lu Ming. Their speed was getting faster and faster, and they could even autonomously evolve into sword moves. The power was even more astonishing. Lu Ming tried his best to block and evade, but he still couldn't completely block the attack. More wounds appeared on his body. This won't do. My attacks are too scattered. I can't completely block them like this. I have to scatter the law. Lu Ming's mind raced. Then, with a thought, the 9 types of law he controlled scattered and flew out separately. They turned into 9 rays of light and flew towards the sword light formed by the 9 laws. However, Lu Ming controlled 9 types of law at the same time. His speed was clearly much slower than his opponents. Not only did he fail to block them, but he also suffered more attacks from the sword light. Lu Ming could only use his 6-feathered divine wings to dodge, but he was still cut by a few sword lights, causing blood to flow. This method is right. My control of the law is too rusty and I'm not proficient enough in using it. Otherwise, I would definitely be able to block it. Lu Ming dodged rapidly while continuing to control the law to block. In the beginning, Lu Ming couldn't block at all because he was too rusty in using the law. It was difficult for him to keep up with his opponent's speed. However, as time passed, Lu Ming became more and more proficient in using the law. Finally, he could slowly keep up with his opponent's speed. 7 days later, more than half of the sword lights had been blocked by Lu Ming. After a month, Lu Ming would be able to block all the sword lights. Lu Ming felt that his use of the law had greatly increased. His understanding of each law had also deepened. For Lu Ming, there was no need to doubt the benefits. Now, the power of the hammer of primal chaos and the sword of death that he had created had greatly increased. Lu Ming reckoned that he had finally reached the small success stage. Furthermore, it would also be of great help to Lu Ming when he wanted to create new divine abilities in the future. This was because Lu Ming was more familiar with the use of the various laws and had a deeper understanding of each law. Naturally, he could combine new divine abilities according to different laws. However, at this moment, the law that attacked Lu Ming suddenly changed. It was no longer a single sword light. Some laws turned into true dragons, some laws turned into phoenixes, some laws turned into chilins, some laws turned into golden-winged great rocks. 9 laws turned into 9 different divine beasts. Moreover, they were all top divine beasts that evolved different attacks. This way, it would be even more difficult for Lu Ming to deal with. This was because this was a more profound use of the laws. Lu Ming could not keep up and could only be beaten passively. Immediately, he began to be injured again. Lu Ming began to try. He also evolved the 9 laws into different divine beasts to fight against the other party. However, this process was extremely difficult. It was even more difficult than before. Lu Ming did not give up because he knew that this was the only way that would work. This time, it took even longer. After Lu Ming resisted the 9 laws for 2 months, Lu Ming finally succeeded. Lu Ming evolved the 9 laws into different divine beasts to fight against the other party's 9 laws and kill each other. For a moment, it was difficult to determine the victor. My life law has finally broken through. Lu Ming's face was full of smiles. During this period of time, after constant resistance, his life law had finally broken through and reached the first level of perfection. The 9 laws that he had mastered had completely reached the limit of the first level. Moreover, he could use them with ease. Lu Ming felt that he could break through to the martial emperor realm at any time. This time, even if I don't get the indestructible ancient scripture, the harvest is already great enough. Lu Ming's smile became even wider. This time, the greatest harvest was not the breakthrough of the life law, but his use of the 9 laws had become stronger and his understanding of the laws had deepened. These were all invisible wealth that could not be seen now. However, in the future, Lu Ming's cultivation process would have a great effect. In the future, Lu Ming's cultivation would have fewer detours. It would also be of great help to him in creating his own special abilities. This was an invisible wealth. Buzz. At this moment, the surrounding void began to vibrate. The divine beasts formed by the 9 laws collapsed and disappeared. The void also shattered like a mirror. Lu Ming felt the world spinning. In the next moment, he found that he had returned to the ancient road. His palm was still on the platform. At this moment, the ancient road under Lu Ming's feet changed. Originally, this ancient road had already reached the end. Now, it suddenly extended all the way to the front. Success! Chapter 2243. Originally, this path had already come to an end, but now, the ancient path continued to extend, indicating that he had succeeded. Brother Lu Ming, you've succeeded, chirp chirp. Bubbles cried out excitedly. Lu Ming glanced around and found that there was no platform in front of Bubbles and the beautiful woman. The platforms had disappeared. At this moment, there was a shocking aura coming from other directions. Lu Ming looked around and found that it was the young geniuses of the other 8 paths. These people were looking at Lu Ming and the others with fiery eyes. The platforms in front of them had disappeared, leaving only one platform in front of Lu Ming. Bubbles, what's going on? Did you all fail? Lu Ming asked. Yes, the others all failed half a month ago. Once they failed, the platforms disappeared. You're the only one who persisted until now. Bubbles explained. Lu Ming's heart skipped a beat. It seemed that he was the only one who had succeeded. Bubbles, let's go. Lu Ming smiled and stepped forward. As for Bubble and the beautiful woman, they also followed him. However, when Bubbles and the beautiful woman stepped onto the new ancient path, they were blocked by an invisible force, unable to take a step forward. However, it didn't affect him at all. Brother Lu Ming, Bubbles can't go up, chirp chirp. Bubbles pouted and was very unhappy. Let me help you. Lu Ming walked back and wanted to pull Bubbles up, but he found that even he couldn't go up. Brother Lu Ming, you go up alone. Bubbles said. In the end, Lu Ming could only give up and walk towards the ancient path alone. The young geniuses of the other 8 paths all looked at Lu Ming. Some sighed, some were envious, and some were jealous. Lu Ming walked forward and slowly disappeared from everyone's sight. My physical body and sacred power have improved by another level. As he walked, Lu Ming felt the changes in his body. Previously, when his life precept had reached the first level of complete mastery, it had tempered his body and saint energy. This was an ultimate precept, and its effect on the tempered body and saint energy was extremely shocking. His physical body had become stronger, and his saint energy had become denser and more condensed. Lu Ming's current saint energy, in terms of quality, was not inferior to the power of the world. In fact, it was even stronger. Lu Ming's battle prowess had undoubtedly increased a little. The rest of the road was very peaceful. Lu Ming quickened his pace. Soon he reached the end of the road. Up ahead, there was a huge and majestic palace. In front of the palace was a white jade plaza. In the air above the white jade square, there was a ball of light that was incomparably bright. What is this? Lu Ming's gaze was attracted by the ball of light. Lu Ming narrowed his eyes and found that the core of the light was a small piece of glass-like fragment, sparkling and translucent. The moment Lu Ming stepped into the white jade square, the ball of light directly rushed toward Lu Ming at an astonishing speed. Lu Ming was shocked and instinctively wanted to dodge, but it was too late. The ball of light directly flew into Lu Ming's forehead and disappeared. Boom! At this moment, there was an additional fragment in Lu Ming's mind. This is the indestructible ancient scripture. Lu Ming was overjoyed. This was because as long as his soul power approached this fragment, he would be able to sense some information. Bam! At this moment, this fragment suddenly exploded and turned into a burst of energy that merged with Lu Ming's soul. Then, a piece of information poured into Lu Ming's mind. It's really the indestructible ancient scripture. Lu Ming felt that the indestructible ancient scripture seemed to have merged with him. As long as he willed it, the indestructible ancient scripture would appear in his mind and he would be able to comprehend it. This was very different from what Lu Ming had expected. Previously, Lu Ming thought that the indestructible ancient scripture would be a scripture or a jade talisman. He didn't expect that it would appear in such a form and directly enter his mind. Can I inscribe the indestructible ancient scripture? Thinking of this, a jade talisman appeared in Lu Ming's hand. Lu Ming wanted to inscribe the cultivation method of the indestructible ancient scripture into the jade talisman. However, when he wanted to inscribe it, he was at a loss. He didn't know where to start and didn't know where to start. As long as he willed it, the cultivation method of the indestructible ancient scripture would appear in his mind. However, when he wanted to inscribe it, he couldn't grasp the charm. He felt that it was high up and he didn't know where to start. Lu Ming was stunned. At that instant, a figure suddenly appeared in front of Lu Ming. It was the same figure that looked similar to the middle-aged puppet from before. Don't even think about inscribing it. Your cultivation is too weak. It's impossible. The middle-aged figure said. Senior, what's going on? Why is there only a seal? Lu Ming asked. Sigh. It's already impressive that there's a seal here. Back then, my master was besieged by the outsiders and died. My master was unwilling to let the indestructible ancient scripture go to waste, so he used his final means to summon a heavenly Tao seal to bring the indestructible ancient scripture back. At the same time, he gave me some instructions. Then, his final consciousness disappeared, leaving behind only the indestructible ancient scripture. The middle-aged figure said. I see. Lu Ming came to a realization. At the same time, he felt a sense of sorrow. Even an unbeatable cultivator like the indestructible martial monarch had fallen, leaving only a heavenly Tao seal behind. He had no choice but to do so. If not for that, the indestructible martial monarch could have left behind a scripture or a jade talisman. That would have been a better way to pass on his legacy. At the same time, Lu Ming also understood why he couldn't inscribe the indestructible ancient scripture. The indestructible ancient scripture was contained in the heavenly Tao seal of the indestructible martial monarch. A heavenly emperor was in harmony with the heavenly Tao. This was too far away for Lu Ming. Therefore, Lu Ming couldn't grasp it at all and couldn't inscribe it. Only when Lu Ming's cultivation was strong enough in the future could he inscribe the indestructible ancient scripture. Alright, you've obtained the indestructible ancient scripture and I've completed my mission. Now I'll send you out. After saying that, the middle-aged figure waved his hand. Lu Ming immediately felt a powerful force enveloping him. In the next moment, the void fluctuated and Lu Ming disappeared. He appeared outside the light gate outside Mount Eternal. At the same time, the youths in Mount Eternal also disappeared and appeared outside Mount Eternal. They're out. This time, they've been out for 3 whole months. I wonder if anyone has obtained the indestructible ancient scripture. Many people's eyes lit up as they glanced at the thousands of young geniuses who had entered. All right, my mission has been completed. From now on, in accordance with the will of the indestructible martial monarch, Mount Eternal will be buried in the endless void forever. The middle-aged puppet on Mount Eternal said, then turned around to leave. Fellow Taoist, please wait. Chapter 2244. An expert stepped out and called out to the middle-aged puppet. Someone recognized that this was a heavenly Emperor Realm expert. What's the matter? The middle-aged puppet stopped and asked. May I ask if the indestructible ancient scripture has appeared? The heavenly Emperor asked. The indestructible ancient scripture has already found its successor. The middle-aged puppet left behind a sentence, then took a step out, his figure disappearing from Mount Eternal. Boom. Following that, the incomparably huge Mount Eternal shook, emitting a terrifying pressure. The void directly collapsed, revealing a pitch-black endless void. Rumble. The majestic Mount Eternal roared and began to move, flying into the endless dark void and disappearing. Then, the cracked space healed and returned to its original state. Mount Eternal disappeared just like that. It would forever sink into the dark void. But at this moment, everyone did not have the time to lament the disappearance of Mount Eternal. Their attention was all focused on the middle-aged puppet's words. The indestructible ancient scripture had already found its successor. This meant that the indestructible ancient scripture had already been obtained by someone, and it was among these thousands of young geniuses. Everyone's gaze looked at these thousands of young geniuses, including those heavenly Emperor Realm experts. And those thousands of young geniuses were all sizing each other up. In the end, the gazes of more than a dozen young geniuses landed on Lu Ming. These dozen geniuses had all passed the first round of Mount Eternal's assessment, but they all failed the second round. They all saw that Lu Ming had passed the second round of assessment and continued forward. If anyone had obtained the indestructible ancient scripture, then it must be Lu Ming. Some people's eyes revealed a strong sense of jealousy. Which one of you obtained the indestructible ancient scripture? Stand out. A heavenly emperor powerhouse spoke, a wisp of aura emanating from his body, like the heavenly Tao representing this world, making people's hearts tremble. Lu Ming frowned but did not speak. Who is it? Stand out. Another heavenly emperor stepped out. His eyes were like 2 stars, emitting a bright light, sweeping over Lu Ming and the rest. Your Majesty, I know who obtained the indestructible ancient scripture. Suddenly, a young man spoke. Lu Ming looked over and saw that it was a young man with a buzz cut. Oh, who is it? A celestial emperor asked. It's him, Lu Ming. The short-haired youth pointed at Lu Ming. What? It's him. There was an uproar at the scene. Many people didn't believe it. Lu Ming, hadn't he not become a martial emperor yet? How could he have obtained the imperishable ancient scripture? What was going on? It's definitely him. Among all of us, he was the only one who managed to reach the end. If there's anyone who managed to obtain the indestructible ancient scripture, it would be him. Another young man said. Following this, a few other young men pointed out that Lu Ming had obtained the indestructible ancient scriptures. He actually got it, damn it. Blue Cloud, Yan Shi, Heng Xinghe, and the others all revealed looks of jealousy. At the scene, almost everyone's eyes fell on Lu Ming. Lu Ming, did you obtain the indestructible ancient scripture? Tell the truth, it's best not to lie. A celestial emperor looked at Lu Ming, his voice cold and aloof. It's the Lan family's celestial emperor. Nearby, someone whispered. Lu Ming's eyes moved. It seemed that this celestial emperor came from Blue Cloud's family. That's right, I obtain the indestructible ancient scripture. Lu Ming frowned, but in the end he still admitted it. After all, so many people saw him pass the second round, but he was the only one who reached the end. As long as they weren't stupid, they would know that the indestructible ancient scripture must have been obtained by him. It was useless to deny it, so it was better to admit it directly. Many people's eyes lit up. As for the Lan family's celestial emperor and some other celestial emperors, their eyes were incomparably bright, flashing with blazing flames. Now, hand over the indestructible ancient scripture. The Lan family's celestial emperor said. His eyes were incomparably fiery, staring at Lu Ming. Logically speaking, it was difficult for a celestial emperor to have such fluctuations in his heart. However, the temptation of the indestructible ancient scripture was too strong. That was an ancient scripture that was famous in the heaven realm, the strongest ancient scripture to protect one's life. That's right, quickly take it out. Another celestial emperor also said coldly. They had a high and mighty appearance, their tone was cold and domineering, with an aggressive attitude. They wanted Lu Ming to hand over the ancient scripture. It was as if, once they opened their mouths, Lu Ming would have to do it. What kind of attitude is this? Dandan was unhappy and shouted, "This is Lu Ming's opportunity, it belongs to him. He can give it to whoever he wants?" The Lan family's celestial emperor glanced at Dandan coldly and said, "Ridiculous, the indestructible ancient scripture is a treasure of the heaven realm. How can he swallow it alone? If he hands it over, it will increase everyone's combat strength. This is beneficial to the entire heaven realm." So what if that's the case? After all, this was obtained by Lu Ming through his own efforts. It belongs to him. Asking others to take out their own treasure, is this your attitude? An aggressive look, don't you know how to ask? Dandan shouted. Bold, what kind of person is the celestial emperor? Just ask him to take out an ancient scripture? Why is there a need to ask? Can he afford it? Blue Cloud shouted. Hee, the celestial emperor is nothing great. Dandan curled his lips. Bold, you dare to insult the celestial emperor, this is a capital offense. Blue Cloud roared. But Dandan curled his lips and directly ignored him. The Lan family's celestial emperor, as well as the other celestial emperors, swept a few cold glances at Dandan. With their eyesight, they could naturally see Dandan's original body. They did not say much and continued to look at Lu Ming. Lu Ming, hand over the indestructible ancient scripture. The Lan family's celestial emperor opened his mouth, still looking high and mighty, as if asking Lu Ming to hand it over was a matter of course. Dandan gritted his teeth in anger. Seniors, if I can hand it over, I will definitely hand it over. Unfortunately, I can't hand it over at all. Lu Ming cupped his fists and said. Although he was angry in his heart, he understood that facing a celestial emperor powerhouse, he could only compromise and could not resist. Because the difference was too great, the other party could shatter his bones with a breath. Even if he had a celestial emperor's physical body, it was useless. Can't hand it over? What do you mean? The Lan family's celestial emperor and the other celestial emperors flashed a cold light in their eyes. Because when the immortal emperor was surrounded by the foreign races and his soul was scattered, he did not leave behind the indestructible ancient scripture at all. He only used a heavenly Tao imprint to carry the indestructible ancient scripture and flew back to Mount Eternal. What I obtained was the immortal emperor's heavenly Tao imprint, but the heavenly Tao imprint is too mysterious. With my current cultivation, I can't inscribe the indestructible ancient scripture, so I can't hand it over. Lu Ming explained. Nonsense, he's just spouting nonsense. Yan Shi shouted. Yes, he doesn't want to hand over the indestructible ancient scripture and wants to keep it for himself, so he found such a ridiculous reason. He's too selfish. Blue Cloud also shouted. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Immortal Journey YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.